Hi everyone. As I mentioned in earlier posts, the position this unit takes around violence and abuse is that while violence and abuse are definitely enacted on an individual and interpersonal level, there are also cultural, structural, social and political ideas, practices and systems which can also be categorised as abusive or oppressive. For example, let's take the ongoing Royal Commission into institutional child abuse. While part of the Commission is about identifying the behaviours of individual priests, both the name of the Commission as well as the purpose and the continuing findings as well aim to seek out cultural factors that supported the ongoing abuse perpetrated by individual priests, as well as the cultural factors that supported the covering up of the crimes, as well as protection of the perpetrators. That is, values, attitudes and cultural norms at play in such widespread cultural violence. Also through the Royal Commission, it continues to identify specific policy and structural mechanisms, such as moving priests from one parish to another or to different countries or into different positions, that didn't work to hold the individual accountable nor protect other children from priests offending. That is, there were formal and informal structures at play that can be considered on the continuum of violence and abuse. Therefore, we could suggest that within the Catholic Church there were cultural and structural practices and systems which can also be categorised as abusive and oppressive. This impacts the personal experience of violence, but it also informs the values and self-beliefs that individual victims of violence experienced, such as shame, such as the belief that they were in some way sinners, that speaking out would get them in more trouble, or that speaking out would not achieve anything. This meant that one of the personal effects was isolation and depression, for example. So you can see in what I've just described the interaction between the personal, cultural and structural, yet at the same time there's a distinction between the personal, cultural and structural. The purpose of all of this is to show you an example of how attending to the personal, cultural and structural gives us a much more nuanced, detailed and deeper understanding of violence and abuse, as well as identify the multiple areas that need to be addressed in order to hold violence and abuse to account and to work towards social justice.